What is up? What is up? TGIF. And we're going to be talking about the passport bros today. So sit back, get your bag of popcorn, get you some iced tea, and sit tight. I have some notes. I've been pretty much up all night with the notes. Just, making it sound, we don't want to come off sounding like we're bashing people, and that's not the intention. The intention is to help us understand why there's a group of men, maybe women, predominantly Black men, that are going across the country, across the seas, if you will, in search of, I don't know if it's love, is it lust, are they getting married? Wally's in the building, salute, salute, salute. I'm trying to make this make sense for us. Now, there is one thing that there's a couple of things that I wanted to do really quickly. Let me see if I can get okay, so fair use. I'm going to be using some information, some articles out of, I believe it's levelman.com, okay, and the Philippine News and Brookings.com. All right, so fair use, disclaimer, under section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for the fair use for the purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay? So with that all being said, we're going to carry on. My Lotus is here. Salute, little sis. Thank you for coming through. I'll drop the link in a bit. Just want to go over this. So my first couple of questions that I have in regards to this passport bros is this about love or lust? Is this for marriage? Does this affect, or excuse me, how does this affect the generational wealth? And what's the success rate with being overseas in a relationship? So I have these questions, however best we can answer them. I'm a female woman, and I'm a woman that is married. I never had to go out of the country to go look for sex, love, or get married. New York City alone has got about 8-point-something million people in it, just the city, not the states. So everyone from everywhere comes here. So it's almost like you don't have to go anywhere for that. But traveling is a good thing. We should all have our passports. I'll probably be getting mine this year at some point. So shame on me, I didn't get my passport. But this isn't something new to us, hearing about people leaving the United States and going and, having relationships outside of their country. Most of the military men did that and still do that. A lot of that happened during the 70s, and you had a lot of what they call the Vietnam War, where there were children that were produced out of that. Now, I didn't do any statistics in regards to what that looks like when there are children left behind there, or Are the fathers bringing the families back, getting these mothers their green cards and bringing them back to the United States and living this happy life? All right. Brother Maybach comes in. I had asked him as well to bring some statistics to us because we want to get these numbers in. We don't want to just make it our own personal vendetta, or not vendetta, but we don't want to make it a circus where we're just berating these men and women, but it's called Passport Bros. So I want to know what the statistics are in comparison to the white American, European person per se. What is the Asian American men, what's their comparison, and what is the comparison with the Black American men? Like, I need to know numbers and how does that look, because it just, from what I'm getting, it's just basically talking about melanated men doing this. All right. And so again, keep these questions in your mind while we're going through this. Is this about love or lust? Is this for marriage? How does it affect the generational wealth, right? Because if we're talking about the United States and we're having an issue here fundamentally with getting money and getting resources, how does that look on the grand scheme of things if somebody just taking off and going to another country and then giving their money to that country? Like, are you helping to build that country up? Like, it's your American dollar, as we can see the American dollar going down. Is that going to help shape up that community when you're leaving to go to the Philippines and Vietnam and Brazil, Dominican Republic? And is this and what is the success rates? We want to know, how successful is it? You being out there, Passport Bro. Are you functioning in society, or are you under the radar and nobody knows that you're there? You're just having a good old time. You're, sexing it up or whatever. You're doing polygamous things out there. We don't know. We're trying to make sense of it because we're already on a different time zone over here where we're there. It's hot. It's a hotbed politically. It's a hotbed economically, and I'm going to talk about how the resources, how the economic resources look just within 2019 when we had this pandemic. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to jump right in. Again, thank you for stopping by today. I'm going to have the floor open up in just a little bit. I want to read. I was up pretty much all night. I have like maybe 4 or 5 pages of notes. Also, if you want to check out the hate produced by the Honorable Brother Malcolm X, you can go into let me get the page there, and it is by the Washington Post. You can actually even look online to see the short clip there, I guess, by YouTube, and it came out February 19th, 1959. All right, and it was by journalist Mike Wallace, and it's called "The Hate That Hate Produced." And I love that particular one because in that speech, Brother Malcolm says, "Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the wideness of your nose and your big lips?" So I'm almost like, is this passport thing somewhat of a self-hatred? You're looking for women that don't necessarily look like how your mom looks, how your sisters look, how your nana looks, how your grandma looks, how your meemaw looks, right? And you're going to these places of, what they would call exotic. And these women don't look like how your mom looked, right? So I don't know if this is like self-hate. You just cannot stand dealing with Black women anymore because they give us too much attitude. And the white women too, they're saying, any Western woman, anybody in the UK and the United States, they don't want to deal with them. And I'm saying to myself, well, okay, So you're going to the Philippines, you're going to Thailand, you're going to Brazil. I don't know. That's why I'm saying, Wally. I don't want to say that that's hate, but there's some form of something going on there. If we want to psychoanalyze it, we're going to be like, oh, well, love is love, and we find love wherever, and okay, great, great. All right. But when you're building nations, and we're talking about nation building, because these people out here, when I mean these people, I'm saying the powers that shouldn't be, are nation building. And when they do get themselves a foreign wife, if you look at these big finance men, they're usually Caucasian or European or whatever. And yeah, they get these exotic women. Listen, they're not building anything with these women. They may have some children with them, and all their money gets tied up into bonds and other things. They make sure that they get these women to sign a prenup. All right, so I'm really thinking it's some lower chakra stuff, that there's some men out here that really just that they've been neglected all their lives. They didn't get the girl that they wanted. It's almost looking like that type of thing. So it's like, you know what, I have now. Granted, you can have. It's not expensive to travel per se, but are you going out there to get yourself a helpmate? Are you marrying this said woman that you're going out there looking for? Because you've had enough of dealing with Western women who are aggressive, who are, not in their feminism, because that's also in the article that I'm about to read. Ooh, my beauty queen is in the building. So good, beauty queen. Yeah, so I'm going to drop the link down, because I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking. I'm just going to read. But I would love to get feedback, especially from the men folk, because it is the men folk that are traveling and they are leaving the Western women behind for someone who can cook, clean, shave, pretty much do whatever the hell it is that they want them to do, because they've been groomed that way. And you're leaving all this behind because you don't want the challenge. You can't stand the challenge. It's almost like you're a little baby. You're a little baby and you need somebody to coddle you. You want somebody to pat you on your head and say, oh, you was okay. You was all right. All right. So let's get down to the information. All right. Reading out of levelman.com. Passports, bro. In short, are a group of Black men who travel internationally with the intention of finding sex and love. This is hardly a new phenomenon. Men and women of other races have been doing for decades, if not centuries. However, with the viral level of attention, that's implications such as social practices. Unlike other groups you have sought from abroad, one of the most significant talking points. Okay, so I don't know what that was written there, but basically, this has been going on for a very long time. But the fact that social media has now kicked it up a notch, it's viral. So now you really want to know what's going on, because I remember hearing, Wall Street white men going down to Dominican or going to Cuba and getting, going down there for a weekend and having fun. So, but these were men that had money, right? And these were white men. At weekend time, they'd go and, this is back in the 80s. Then again, you had your military guys, in the 70s and the 50s with the Japanese war. So you've had this going on. But they didn't name it passport bros. And really what it was is women getting green cards or they had mail order brides. So it's basically you're buying sex to bring them over here. Salute from the other side. Thank you, Wally. Yeah, so you're buying stuff on the other side. All right. in the other countries. Okay, so unlike the other groups have sought out from abroad, one of the most significant talking points of the passport bros is that American women are insufficient amongst other things. Wow. Not to get psychoanalytical, but even if Black women are the angry, money-hungry, oversexed, violent, unfit, unattractive, masculine, obese people members of the passport bros are portraying us to be, this still has nothing to do with the decision being made by grown men. Rather, this is simply a Black man who have decided to see love outside of their own communities, and that's okay. This is a woman writing this. Her name is Ivy Rock. She says, side note, Black women are still one of the demographics least likely to date outside of their race. Okay, that's interesting to know. Despite Black men, a demograph that has become known for interracial dating. This is even though Black women have collectively had valid complaints, i.e. low marriage rates, high single mother rates, astronomical femicide rates, and studies that confirms negative biases online dating. Most Black women have done the same to them, if at all, infuriating to say the very best. So basically, what she's saying is that Black women demographically do not date outside of their quote unquote Black race, right? They stay within it, even if they have a low marriage rate, even if there's low, single motherhood, even if they're having a hard time with, the online dating, they'll still stay at home. All right, they'll still stay at courtside. So either way, the point is that rather than simply their little passport, simplifying their little passport stamps while enjoying foreign women, it seems one of the top goals of the passport bros is to degrade and insult Black American women. Now, this woman is writing, and it sounds like this is her grievance. This is not a statement, but we're using this article for comments and criticism. Fair use. While it usually annoys me when people feel the need to point out the apparent exceptions to specific issues, this time I'm willing to say it actually is not all men. I have been in plenty of conversations in which several American Black men have stood up for Black women and told the passport bros that they need their own decisions and stop blaming Black women. This was honestly a tad bit shocking. Of course, there are usually far men defending Black women, but this just goes to show you how ingenuous these talking points truly are. Even Black men are tired of hearing about this. So there's some Black men out here that are tired of hearing about the passport bros as well. All right. In any case, I'm confused. If the passport bro is truly the answer to grievances with Black women in America, why aren't they happier? Typically speaking, if you see a Black woman who's divested, you would see her living her best life. When men of other you will see her living her best life with men of other races. You won't see her going out of her way to bring Black men into every conversation or trying to degrade them to pander to other men. She says, yes, I know there are exceptions to all of this. Until recently, I didn't realize the degree of anger some of these men have towards Black women. She's talking about the passport bros now. After participating in many of these conversations, I can tell you that the hate is very real. Following the passport bros movement online, I heard some of the most disgusting statements and stories about Black women. If you've decided Black women are trash as collective, leave us in the dump and enjoy your paradise. Why are you dragging us into conversations to just justify your lifestyle? And indeed, why are you wasting time explaining yourself in the first place? One thing about being happy, well-adjusted adult is your own decisions and standing behind them. As long as you aren't breaking any laws, you don't need to give us a hall pass to onlookers. And what did she say there? In books to tell and why they're you don't need to give us a hall pass and keep going on with enjoying your life. Now, out of the Filipino press, dated March 10th through the 13th of 2023, CNN reports Michael Schmier-Cornish highlighted some troubling statistics about young men in the United States and argued that they're in a crisis. It seems that the number of American men looking for dates has declined dramatically, prompting the $64,000 question, where the boys are. Well, evidently, Western men are heading overseas, preferably to Asian countries such as Thailand and the beloved homeland of the Philippines, in search of love, happiness, and peace in life. They are looking for traditional women with beautiful faces and chiseled bodies and aesthetic, to what they see as an alternate to the disappointing dating market back in their home countries. On January 20th, 2023, a TV reporter, Isaiah Uncensored, interviewed one of these so-called passport bros and asked him why he titled his podcast Overseas Women Easy if it isn't about sex. The young man, who is only 23 and would not be considered a passport bro since he goes back and forth between countries and lives in Asia, who also happens to be a melanated 23-year-old man. He admits that he is in Asia because he wants a wife that cooks for him. The host, a Black man himself, says, "Have you even given relationships in America a chance? Are you saying no American woman cooks?" This is the interviewer asking this young man. So the young man shrugs his shoulders and says, yeah, and gives a blasé answer. Years ago, in an Essence magazine, a monthly lifestyle magazine for Black culture, including fashion, beauty, and entertainment, there was an article about a Black man in particular who said that they were leaving American women because they were too aggressive and do not cook. Really, this is the narrative. So, and I've heard this from other men saying this, and it's an age range. All right. So basically, you miss your mom's cooking. You've been left out of the house, and so now you want somebody to pick up your drawers, cook for you, and pretty much yes sir, no sir. I will continue. I believe the article was well balanced, though, because of the Brazilian women's response. This Brazilian woman says, American Black men are cleaner physically and don't mind giving me money before they go back to their wives in the States. Some still send money for me and my child. Oh, that's real cute. At least he's being responsible. And so passport bros are a variation of men going their own way. That's an acronym, MGTOW. An anti-feminist, misogynistic, mostly online community advocating for men to separate themselves from women and from a society which they believe has been corrupted by feminism. This is a lot of... But the passport variant are men who still want wife up good women, a wife up good woman, instead of rejecting marriage altogether. Passport bros believe that certain women are worthy of marriage and that both husband and wife should contribute to the marriage in some way. They tend to get bullied by Western women who ironically prove why those passport bros exist in the first place. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And for some reason, Black men are primarily targets of the prosecution. Though men with the money to do so are leaving the West for a better life abroad, finding greener pastures, happier, less stressful, and more peaceful lives outside of places like the US, Canada, and the UK. And in closing, passport bros are men who have chosen to seek out foreign women, typically from other countries for relationships. They believe that Western women have been influenced by cultural and societal pressures to behave in a certain way. And that by being a foreign woman, they can find more authentic, fulfilling, and harmonious relationships. This is seen as a way to restore the natural balance between masculine and feminine energy and to avoid the wickedness of Western women. Ooh, Brother Malcolm were here to hear this today. He was only alive to hear this. They are appreciative that their lives would be better in places like Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe, because strong family values are still seen as the norm in those places. Hookup culture isn't as rampant in those parts of the world. Really now? And those that and thus the population, especially the women, are far less damaged. Wow. Let's get into some economics really quickly. I started to do I'm not going to finish writing off what I have, but out of Brookings.edu article dated December 8th, 2020. This is going to be interesting to talk about this because the passport bros kind of stirred up. We heard a little bit about this before the pandemic, right? Before the lockdown. But this gives us an insight of the time frame when we were in this lockdown to how the money looked for a Black person, male, and a white person, male. All right. And so for all intents and purposes, we're using the words white and Black today, right? We understand that those are colors, but we're using those because this is how it's written. So the Black-white wealth gap left Black households more vulnerable. In 2019, the median white household held $188,200 in wealth. That's 7.8 times that of a typical Black household. The Black and white wealth gap serves as an important factor in understanding how economic recoveries can become uneven and unequal across demographics. Black and white households both experience a reduction in median wealth from 2007 to 2010. That's because we were in a recession. Everybody got hit, right? So I'll repeat. The Black and white households both experienced a reduction in median wealth from 2007 to 2010 during the Great Recession. Despite white households holding their higher levels of wealth than the Black households throughout the Great Recession, the decline in median wealth for white and Black households was nearly equal during this period. In the median white and Black households was nearly equal during this period. So basically, like I just said, during the recession of 2007 to 2010, things were leveled off. Same thing of how it happened here in 2019 to 2023. There's now a little peak, but we're still in a recession. The median white household experienced a 27% decline in wealth from 2007 to 2010 compared to a 28% decline for the median Black households. The median wealth of single white men under the age of 35 was 22,640. That is 3.5 times greater than that of single white women, 6,470. That's 14.6 times greater than that of a single Black male of 1,550. And that's 224.2 times greater than that of a single Black woman, which she's only getting $100. So can you? All right. So I don't know who's zooming who right now, because granted this was 2019, but we also are just teetering off of a somewhat recession where businesses are back and things like that, but there's still places that have been affected. And in the United States, the wealth gap between the Blacks, Hispanics, and whites are so disproportionate. The white Americans, if you will, their economic bracket is so, if you look at a chart, they're so surpassed the Hispanic and white and Black male and females. It's bananas. And so this passport growth thing, it's not even, it's sad. It's sad. It's a sad thing. It's funny, like for entertainment, but it's really like, while I was writing this stuff, I'm like, people is like really going in like that. Let me continue. So by the age of 55 and older, single white men hold 1.3 times more wealth than the single white woman, and 8.1 times more wealth than the single Black man. So always know that the single white woman still outranks a Black man financially, because it's the white man, the white woman, the Black man, and then the Black woman. And it doesn't matter if she's Miss Independent and she's got X, Y, and Z. If you're not contributing and those taxes and those statuses don't show up and they're not getting a consensus, you're still a Black woman under the Black man, and the Black man is still under the white woman, unless you're an actor or you're some entertainer or you're some athlete. Okay. The median wealth of single Black women trails slightly behind that of the single black men until the age of 55. So can you imagine, all the way up till 55 years old, you're still lagging behind. And you're worried about high values and you're worried about making six figures. The economy is, we need to figure out what the economy is looking like before you can sit up here and talk about some high value in this, that, and the third. Your blue collar people are the ones that are making the money. You see what's going on with the white collared jobs. They're shutting them down. So unless you're doing some type of undercover stuff where you got money that you can spend and you're doing this day trading or night trading or whatever kind of trading you're doing, where you could just be going hoe hopping to different countries because you're feeling insecure about yourself and you're worried about and how you're angry at the black woman and she's loud and she's mouthy and she can't cook. I saw how many times in here that they said that the black woman can't cook. How dare they? How dare they? You mean to tell me your grandmother didn't cook? Your grandma didn't know how to cook? Your great grandma, even if your mama didn't cook, your great grandmother didn't cook? There's a disconnect here, and this is why people are getting annoyed by it. Even men are like, this is stupid. This is whack. Like, and that's a small portion of these people. That's just along the lines, the same thing with we're leaving the United States because it's tanking, and we're going to go to Africa, and we're going to go to other countries. So black men so the black woman trails slightly behind that of a single black male under the age of 55. When single black women hold $40,760 in median wealth compared to a single black man with $27,000, right? That's because that 40,000, I guarantee you she's working in an office. She's not doing blue collar. So the 27,000 single for the black male, he's doing blue collar work. Labor market data showed how women have been hit, particularly during the COVID-19. Y'all can read between the lines, recession of the 1.1 million people who left the labor market in September 2020. Over 860,000 of that left the labor market were women. Black women have faced especially a large job loss. The share of black women with a job decreased by 11% from February to April 2020, compared to a 9.9% reduction in the share of white women. So let's look at that again. 11% decrease, but the white woman was only 9.9. So yes, there's still a decrease with both women, but the black woman is still significantly higher. Okay. The 9.9 reduction of the share of white women with a good job and a 9.2 decline in the share of white men with a good job. So again, they're still under us, even though that number, they're lower. And even though the brackets are, where the poorest is or what have you, black women and black men are still considered poor, if you will, with this recession. All right. Let's not even talk about inherited wealth. So white households are substantially more likely to expect and receive inheritances. But we're talking about passports, and we're telling other men, get your passport. If you can't find her here, go over there. These white people was talking about, let's get these wills and inheritances. Generational. That's why in the beginning of this live, I asked, how is that affecting you generationally? Generational wealth. What are we doing here? White households are substantially more likely to expect and receive inheritances than black households because inheritances are lightly taxed in equities. Inheritances play a significant role in perpetuating a black and white wealth gap that spans generations because they've been doing this for generations. For black households who have reported disproportionately high levels of unemployment, and even more so during the COVID-19 recession, this means the black-white wealth gap can exacerbate the effects of the negative labor market outcome that black households are more likely to face. And at the onset of the pandemic, unemployment and underemployment rates for blacks and white Americans more than doubled from March to April 2020. Unemployment and underemployment peaked in April 2020 for both groups. But these rates were significantly higher for who is it? Black Americans. 3 of the hardest hit industries by the pandemic in terms of job loss were retail trade, transportation, warehousing, and leisure and hospitality. Gee, what does that sound like? Blue collar. These were among the top 10 employees of the black workers. Because the black workers were the ones that were going in. That's what I'm saying. They were in the retail, transportation, warehouses, hospitalities, etc. They were the hardest hit. And when it came to black-owned businesses during the COVID-19 recession, an analyst by the Economic Policy Institute found that 28% of black-owned businesses were in industries with the largest total job loss relative to 20% of white-owned businesses. And I stopped there because I didn't finish writing it. It's just a lot. Let me see if I could finish reading it here. So yet black households have substantially less emergency savings than white households. All right, so that's interesting. Again, we're worried about seriously, everybody wants to have somebody in their life and things like that. But like when we have emergency situations, all right, and we don't have a savings, but you going out there to, jack off and stuff like that, it's not making sense. Where's the priorities at? You're worried about who can cook for you. You're worried about who's being submissive, subservient. Can you cook? So, because you got a couple of dollars in your pocket, that sounds like a trick. Yet black households have substantially less emergency savings than white households. The average value of liquid assets among white households was $8,100 in 2019, compared to $1,500 for black households. 8,000 liquid assets. Your average black person, black household, has got 1,500. Furthermore, 72% of white households say that they could get $3,000 from family or friends, compared to 41% of black households. Meaning, if I didn't have any money today or tomorrow, and I had some bank bills that I had to pay, or I needed food, these people could get $3,000 from family and friends like nothing, while 41% of Black households is going to be scrapping by. Racial disparity between Black and white households are present in holding of non-liquid assets as well. In 2019, 73% of white families compared to 42% of Black families owned a home. This is what, 5 years ago. It's not that far away ago. And the prices might have gone up a little bit more now that, certain things have taken place. But nonetheless, this gives us an earmark of how we should be looking at things moving forward. Black families are not less likely to own a home, but their home ownership also yields lower levels of assets. In 2019, the typical white family's home value was $230,000 compared to $150,000 for Black families. Similarly, of the $30.8 trillion in total real estate assets reported in the second quarter of 2020, white households held 78%, or $23.9 trillion, compared to 5%, or $1.6 trillion, held by the Black household. Scrolling down. All right. Despite holding lower levels of retirement assets, young Black families were more likely to borrow from or cash out their retirement savings during current crisis. Among households with positive retirement equity, Figure 5, it's a model that they have here, shows that the median value of retirement equality for households with a household head under the age of 35 in 2019 was $5,000 for Black Americans and compared to $7,500 for white Americans. Okay. So in conclusion, in the short term, renewed fiscal support is needed to curb the economic pain many households are experiencing because they are unable to absorb the economic shocks of the COVID-19 recession. More specifically, policies aimed at providing income support and strengthening the safety net, along with implementing automatic stabilizers that trigger expansions of economic aid during fiscal crisis, are critical during this time. And yet, while a stronger safety net and additional income support can provide families with immediate protection against economic crisis, it is unlikely to provide them with the long-term stability to prepare for future shocks in the same way that wealth can. Accordingly, when designing policies to reduce the Black-white wealth gap, avoiding the conflation of income with wealth is imperative. In fact, our previous Hampton Project analysis showed that the Black-white wealth gap remains even among households of similar incomes. Neither differences in income nor differences in educational attainment and indebtedness, or a host of other demographic and social economic indicators can fully account for the persistence of the white and Black wealth gap. Okay. So I'm going to stop there, go back to you guys. And I will drop the link If anybody's interested in coming through. What happened to Maybach? Maybach said he was going to be here. So yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to digest. But the fact of the matter is that we're working with statistics, right? We're working with numbers. We're working with, we're not just trying to make this sound like, we're bashing people or, this is sounding stupid, lame, what have you. We're just wanting to understand how, because while there's issues here, I guess it's almost like people just wanting to run away. It makes you start to think in that respect. Oh, they're just running away. They don't want to handle the responsibility here. So what are you doing when you go out there? It's the same way as people saying, oh, I'm tired of this country and I'm going to go flee away to Africa and be at the homeland and the motherland and stuff like that. And how dare some of these men to be like, oh, they're too aggressive and they can't cook and what's all the crap that they were saying? Money hungry, unattractive, masculine, and also you go out overseas and these women are feminized and whatnot. You think those women are really feminine? They're putting on a show for you just like any woman would when they're meeting a man. Because those women have to also take care of their family. They got children, they kind of take care of their children, but you always hear them having to take care of their mothers or their elderly. They got cousins. What does that masculinity, femininity have to do with anything when you're handling your business? I mean, the excuses that some of these men are making just so they can go out there and get some punani. Like, it's really that serious? You can't find that one beautiful woman here in America. Or everyone is got an attitude. Everyone is money hungry. Everyone is what are the other words? They can't cook. They're not masculine. They're unattractive. Really? Because have you seen some of them chicks abroad? They missing teeth. Listen. I don't even want to go there. But, hold on a second, y'all. Let me just grab a little bite. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it, Wally. Let's talk about it.
What's going on?
What's good?
Oh boy.
Let it go. Let's go.
Hold up, because this is gonna be good. But look, so where can I start? I mean, where do you want me to start? Because personally, I can care less about this right now. Okay. Honestly, I can care less.
All right. Let's forget about that. This is for love, lust. How does this work out economically? What's the success rate of someone going overseas compared to being here?
Well, economically for the person, it's actually better. Reason why is because simply because of the American money doubling or tripling up. But I mean, as of course we already know, as you said earlier, right? In certain areas, these countries are combining themselves together to be able to not even want to use American money anymore. So that's slowly and surely trickling down. So for those that already did it and they have made themselves successful where they already got a step ahead for most of the guys that are even considering it. But economically wise, I mean, ultimately for themselves, like I said, it's gonna look like that. Now, granted, depending on what it looks like when they ultimately switch out of the American dollar
Right.
overall, that's gonna be the different question, right? That's gonna be the real question because it's like, okay, when they start to truly switch out and have this universal dollar between all the other countries, now you have to ask yourself, okay, what does that look like versus America's dollar ultimately? Is
Right.
it still the same or is it a little bit more worse? You know, how is this all changing? Now, granted, based upon some of these dudes that do leave, most of them, well, you already know how it is, right? America's have outsourced their work other places. So it's like for them, most of the guys that are leaving, they're literally are outsourcing their work other where else's. So my thing is for them, they don't really lose because
Mm.
they can really get their job from anywhere as long as they got internet access and all that other stuff. So there's not much of an L for them. Now,
Okay.
as far as economically for the country, of course, that does benefit for the country as long as they're being productive citizens of the land. So yeah.
Right.
Now, what that does for America? Well,
Mm-hmm.
hey, well, we already know how that goes, right? You got another
Right.
body gone, that means less money here. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So very good. Thank you for answering that. Does that make sense? Now, what is the driving force of the passport bros, in your humble opinion?
Well, so this is my overall consumption as this whole passport thing constantly keep on going. So the
Mm-hmm.
overall consumption, as far as I know, is they got tired of being here in America, and eventually they just choose to find another place to just be abroad or just get relaxed from America overall. And
Uh-huh.
once that happened, it just seems to be a whole culture shock to them because like, oh, it's like they never got treated like this when they were here in America versus being here somewhere else. So
Hmm.
in that some senses. Other than that, of course, it's just traveling, seeing the sights and all that other stuff, and then everything else eventually came along with it.
Okay. I could see that. I could see that. Um, I had watched a documentary about a month ago,
Mhm.
and it was these old British women going to, was it Ghana? What they went some one country out in Africa,
Mhm.
and yo, they were tricking off. They were giving these little guys money, and one got married. The chick was like 60 something, and he's like 23,
Oh wow.
and she was, saying she was still living in the UK, and she was wrapping up her stuff there so she can come live with him because he was building a house for her.
Mm.
But meanwhile, homeboy had his whole itinerary and his own agenda.
Mhm.
Um, and the woman was like, nonetheless, I think she was like, there was a couple of them. One was like 80, another one was like 60 something. There was another woman that went out to India, and she converted to becoming a Muslim, because I think she was like dying and she wanted to like have love and stuff, because all of them were just looking for love, but they had the money to trick off and let these guys be, whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm so in love, I haven't had this in such a long time, or I never felt like this at all.
Mhm.
So it's not just the men, but here in the States, it's a little, it's the opposite. And when we're talking about passport bros, it's really, we're talking about the quote unquote black man. We're not
Right.
talking about white Todd going and doing that, because they've been doing that forever.
Right. My thing is though, this is why I find it sort of funny though, because it's like, okay, well, based upon your story, right? So these women had money, and they were doing with other dudes that were less, that didn't have as much money as they did, but
Mm-hmm.
they were dealing with them. One got in love, and the other ones were just doing this to have some fun, whatever,
Yep.
whatnot. But amongst the one that did got married or did choose to get married, she never had this quite of experience of relationship before, right?
Yeah.
I find that funny because it's like, okay, well, there you go, right? Isn't that what men are talking about right here, though? Y'all
Mm-hmm.
women, I mean, some of these women out here want to talk about, oh, you know, they got this bag and all this, and you got to level up to their standard, their standpoint. But it's like, well, wait a minute. But then every single time you find a guy that's upper than you, that guy is a jerk or he's a jack, and you know he ain't a good guy. Well, then what's the difference? So then what we're talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I just look at that as women just looking at it as being hypocrisy a little bit. They just do it to themselves. But I mean, that's from my standpoint. Now, I mean, if you want my overall standpoint on the whole passport bros and my visual from start to finish, I mean, at the start, I was looking at it like, look, no one gonna run me off to somewhere else out of the country I was born in. Like, this is my
Mm-hmm.
grounds. This is my breeding grounds. Like, you ain't gonna run me off. Like, hey, it is what it is.
Right.
I do me, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I took this. So I looked at it as dudes running away. But you know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was talking to someone and we were having that conversation, I was like, you know what? He brought up a good point. So I was like, you know what? I can't be mad at them no more. It's like, you know, look, if they've done all the right things, if they, you know, truly try to, you know, have some type of relationship, have some type of deal with women out here in America, and it's like, and you know, they just done with it. It's like, all right, cool. I mean, hey, they do what they got to do, and they left. Now, you may sit here and say, oh, well, then that's hurting the economy over here for us overall, because it's like, well, why are these guys up and leaving their quote unquote responsibilities? But my thing is this: you can sit here and say that's their responsibility, but my thing is their responsibilities that they have their own choices. So it's like, what can I honestly keep on doing? There's nothing more I can. There's nothing more I can do here. I'm done here.
So you feel, it's. I don't want to ask you because you're the only guy, but your consensus is that do you feel like this is more and more happening lately, like with men that are feeling just they've had enough of dealing with women here in the States and they're ready to just pack up? Or is it just like it's a small group of men that are really feeling like this? Not every.
I mean, could it be a large group of men? Yeah, it could be a large group of men. But my thing is, amongst those large groups, who qualifies to say that? And what do I mean by that? When I say who qualifies, who amongst you guys that have literally sit here and said they have done the due diligent work and have not been a scumbag?
Right.
Because you got a lot of dudes, like you see a lot of videos about this dude talking about, oh, I flied her out and she don't want to fuck me. I'm like, yeah, you disqualify yourself. You a sucker. That's one. And two,
Yeah.
you fly her out just to have some sex, knowing you could do with some chick in your own state. So that ultimately tells me you probably deal with a lot of females in your own state. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just lost right there. You sit your
Right.
ass down somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
Yeah, so that's what that tells me from that standpoint. But I mean, for guys that really did the work and put the work in, they're like, you know what? Look, I can do this all damn day. Ultimately, but it's like, what's the point? And I get it, right? We can sit here and say, well, why would men take a chance overseas more than taking a chance of just going to a different state and trying to look and constantly trying to look somewhere else? But they're willing to move and push their money, through flying overseas and into other countries more so here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, let's keep it real, it's less money to take a flight than it is to take a flight within the interstates in some cases
Right.
or not. So it's like even then, plus also to find a spot to live in, to be in, so you're not on the streets. So it's like, work it how you want to work it, but it's like you're taking it a little bit more here than you are out there in a sense. So
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
yeah.
I mean, because I was feeling like you too. Honestly, I never really heard about it until like maybe a year ago.
Mm.
I never knew that this existed, and I know that traveling and going and doing that because you got Freaknik, we got things like DR. People, guys will go down in the summertime and go to Dominican Republic, and then the Freaknik would happen in Atlanta back in the '90s.
Right.
So we've had those type of situations, and we only think of it as momentarily. It's not something that you really dead serious about, and you're like, oh, I gotta go to Dominican to go get me a wife now.
Right. But
You just
my
know
thing,
it as you're gonna go freak off, and you're gonna come back.
right. Yeah, but even to that point, I mean, this is the thing that this is why a lot of us need to really, really like take heed of important things that have been said. Because, like, let's be real here, all this that's being done or being seen now is like it's already been told to you what's going to happen. Because it's like, let's be honest here, what the guy tells us, right? He tells you, hey, it's better to be alone on a rooftop of a household than to deal with a coarse woman. So my thing is, God already told you, hey, if these women are acting out of hand, bro, live your life, do you, and stay amongst the commandments and just keep pushing forward. They don't want to even do that. So it's like, even in that saying, a lot of men are not for themselves like that at all either, because you can't even breathe your own air. So it's like, that's trouble in itself.
So do you feel, Wally, that there are so when we're talking about marriage now, because that was one of my questions. I have 4 questions. The first one was, is this about love or lust? Is this for marriage? How does this affect generational wealth? And what's the success rate of leaving overseas? So marriage, depending on how some view marriage as, is it that there are men that they're saying, okay, well, I want to go, like, are they intently, when I go out here, I'm looking for my wife?
Right, hold up.
So as far as I know, but as far as I know, in most cases, they're just going, it's really more so, as I believe, they're going out there to vacate. And then naturally, that tends to happen. Like, they go out there, eventually you see some women, you deal with them sometimes, and then eventually it becomes that thing when you're talking to them and all that, and next thing you know, they consider it, and then voila, it's just a thing that happens. Okay. More so than just saying, oh, well, I'm going out there to go find my wife. Now, if you start to hear that, it's because most of those guys have been convinced by other people's success stories, and then they're going out there to go get theirs because they're like, I'm done being here. So yeah, that can definitely be like an altitude that's climbing on the rise, because there is a lot of channels out here that do speak about the whole passport, movement and everything of that nature, and how they're growing out there, and all this and all that, and how all this became what it is.
Right.
So yeah.
And statistically, roundabout, because if you don't have it written, what's the success rate of this?
Well, I can't say it's high. Reason why is because there's a lot of variations to this. When you're going to another country, do you speak the language? Can you know how to speak the language fluently? Because not everywhere is going to be English ultimately. So it's like, you see a lot of guys, they go to the Asian countries. Well, you got to learn how to speak that country, and that is a little bit difficult. You're going to the Latin culture country, like, okay, yeah, you should be able to learn some Spanish, because literally that's a language that you learn in the schools most of the times. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's a variation. In most cases, if I had to take a guess, maybe like 20 to 25%, maybe at best. That's as best as I see it. I don't see a lot of guys really going out there on success rate like that, because you see videos that went out there and succeed. You don't see other videos that they went tricking and all the other stuff. Just like and so
I would have to concur with you on that. It's a smaller percentage of the success rate than it would be like even
because
60%.
Because even the guys that do leave, like, most of these guys that leave, they had it good here first before ever leaving. So most of the
which
guys
would be the smart thing to do.
Exactly. So most of the guys that are leaving, I don't even know where they're at for most of them that leave, because every time I heard of a successful person that left and did well, they're successful themselves before they even got there. So yeah.
The other question, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it, is, so it's almost intentional, right? Going to like a Philippines, going to a Thailand, going to, Dominican Republic. why isn't it that they're not going to Paris, France, or they're not going to Dubai, or they're not going to, Egypt? Like, why are these, and it's not even just black men, but but white men do that too. They go to like these kind of what you call third world, um, and it's
Honestly,
like they're poor.
right. So how do I want to take this? I mean, I think more so than not, in most cases, the reason why people usually go to those third world countries, I can't say it's because it's less developed, but I think it's because, well, one, the financial part, that's one of the reasons. Two, uh, I would more likely say it's because it's their ideal to go there. Because I know, as far as people I talk to, they have their idea set in mind, like, oh yeah, I want to go there. Like it's one of my plans to go out there, look at the sites and stuff like that. So that's probably one of the other things. That's I really can't put my head on for most of it, but mostly it does starts with finance, because you can sit here and say, okay, well, wait a minute, here are all you black brothers here, you're all going here or there, but you're not going where the morally black dominated countries are.
Right.
So it's like, it becomes one of those deterring factors. So yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's almost where I'm like, okay, so I don't care about you traveling and you're doing your sightseeing. But what it's sounding like, that's why I was like, so you're saying that your mother and with Minister Malcolm X, it's the hate that hate produced. It's almost kind of on those lines where it's like you hate yourself. Like you hate, there's some type of inside you where it's like, oh, I've tried this, I've done that, and they can't cook, and these people can cook, and that's where I'm going to be. And it's like, well, you're not going. It's not even like you're going to uh, like I said, Paris, France, or you're not going to, Marrakesh to find these women. And then it's not even like it's so-called melanated women. Like you're going to look at the go-to exotic women that are mixed with everything, and because they can cook.
Well, I'll say this, right? Because I know, okay, I heard you said that standpoint before, right? And I've heard that standpoint being used very much so across the board. I tend to look at that as being a slightly deflective. Reason why is because when people sit here and say, okay, well, I understand, right? Because when people say black people, or in this case, towards the black woman, right? It's
Yeah.
like speaking about the mother, the cousin, the grandma, the auntie, the aunt, and all that. But it's like, well, wait a minute, pause. Who are we specifically talking about when it comes to black women? We're talking about the ones we're trying to date, right? None of us are trying to date our mothers, our grandparents,
No, right.
cousins. So it's like that's sort of deflective in a sense. But
Mm-hmm.
so it's like on that stepping stone, because it's like, okay, if that's the case, well, when black women sit here and say, oh, well, all men ain't ish, well, then it's like, even if it's not all men or just black men ain't ish, then it's like, oh, well, so you're trying to say that about your daddy, your brother, your cousin? It's the same notion a little bit. So
Well, the jab to it is that when they say, oh, that they can't cook, that's where the jab comes in, because it's like, oh, okay, so because you don't really hear women saying, they want. Listen, I want a man that can cook, but most women, you don't hear them say that, but you'll hear a man say, I want my woman to cook. So then it's oh, she doesn't know how to cook.
yeah.
Then that sounds like, okay, so you dissing me. Then that means like you're dissing your mother, you're dissing your grandma. Like you know what I mean? Like that's where that's the only thing that I'm.
Okay, I can get that. That's fair enough. I can get that. I'll say this though. I mean, eventually everyone got to live their own lives, right? So it's like, eventually everyone got to have their own skill set to cook one way or the other. So
True.
I'll keep it there.
Very true.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the message here from Malcolm X. Let's see if I can have it written. It's actually recorded. I'm trying to see if I can have it. And I also did this a while ago, Wally, like maybe about a year ago, because it surfaced that men had wanted to have wives. They wanted traditional wives of the 1950s.
Mm.
And again, that's kind of along the lines with this leaving, going to, other countries, that's what these women are like. They're in their eyes, they're the, stay at home moms, or they're the subservient moms, the women, and they cook and they clean. And I'm
Right.
just like,
Right. You know what? And this is another thing, back then in my thinking of the passports early on, I always say this, right? Let's imagine they end up coming here, right?
mm-hmm,
My thought process is the only reason those women are naturally acting that over there, even if, is because of the circumstance of their country, based on their bylaws and everything else. And then, of course, you see videos, even guys commenting under videos that sit here and say, "Oh no, you be thinking they're better." That's only probably because of some other things. But other than that, they give them the same business over there. So it's like, if guys are willing to sit here and say the same thing, that they give them business. Now, granted, we can sit here and say those guys are being deflected as well, because they do not like when us that transfer our money from there to over there and then stunt or be a difference. It can also be because we got the better genes, so they look at us for better genes, because the boys can get, can be a basketball player and go do something, all that, and that's all that other stuff. But that's my thing, because my thing was like, let's just imagine if every country was just like America. I think this would be across the board. Like, it wouldn't really even matter.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, well, hey, pick and choose.
Right.
So I always look back after this and then be like, at the end of the day, it's like how the person grew up. That should already be your idea. So my thing is, it just goes back to the whole idea of vetting, and just, like, okay, did you really understand who this person really was before you ever deal with this person?
Right.
But even in that simplicity of, vetting, I mean, even the vetting atmosphere has changed, because in most cases, most of these females, they're not really just looking to sit here and chit chat. It's like, are you going to show off? Are you going to either show off and prove to me that you really want me, or what? It's like that whole idea has changed. So it's like, everything, because of society, is changing because of this or this and this and that.
Right.
I mean, I told you today, what's the idea of dating right now, right? What would you say to that? What's your idea to dating?
I mean, still like going out to eat or catching a movie, your picnics, maybe bowling, arcades. Nothing fancy.
But see, that's what I'm saying, right? That's the idea. You said that's the idea of dating, but my thing isn't the idea of dating to get to know each other?
Okay.
See, but that's what I'm saying. It's changed. The whole idea of it has changed. Now it's like you have to have the money, you have to flex, you have to do something to get someone. But it's
but even if you did those things, you're still gonna get to know each other by talking and having these exchanges with each other.
Let's be real. Don't that get in the way of things? That's why it makes it so much more complicated.
So you're saying going overseas, and what do? You just straight like have?
I'm not comparing that overseas. I'm just saying, like, as far as here, like when it comes to doing it here, that's the problem. We're allowing things that are, we're allowing middle stuff be the deciding factor if we deal with you or not, versus trying to get to know you and see if you're a good person or not. It's like, okay,
so do you think that arranged marriages would work?
I mean, look, I don't put that past me, but the same notion, I'm not even gonna put that up front. I'm gonna be honest. I am okay with women being willing to choose, because what that tells me is y'all can't choose either. I mean, let's be real. It's already a bad thing that men got to choose, but I can't blame men for what they choose, because they're the ones that got to deal with it when they pick it. But the sad factor is, when you have the ability to choose as a woman and you still can't choose a good guy, and then you're mad at the results, and then that you get bitter and very much bitter every single time, you did it to yourself.
Yeah. Lotus says she believes in arranged marriages, that they can work.
you know why I don't put it up for arranged marriages, because you already know a lot of these females, and I don't know, I won't say a lot. I will say whoever it fits. But for those females, some of those females, they already had, you know what, they already had the fun. They had their fun life. They secretly have the fun life, and so dealing with anybody is just it just
Well,
wouldn't
I think
work.
you would have to get for an arranged marriage to be. You would have to get them pre, adolescent, teenage, before they're really getting out there to explore. It has to be like very medieval, like it has to be very archaic. That's the only way
I'm not
that people.
right. My thing is just if there's not nothing I've learned from yesterday's generation to
Yeah.
today's, honestly, this is one thing I've learned. We all know our kids, neither middle school up to high school, always trying to date these boys. I mean, the females trying to date the
Mhm.
boys, the boys
Mhm.
trying to date the females. But you know what? We never give them the proper understanding of dating at those age range, and then what that looks like for the future when they become adults. And
Mm.
this is why it constantly begins this cycle of just horrible beginnings, because it just goes left. And it's like, my thing is, you're gonna go into a relationship at this age, but you don't really know what this really looks like. You're just in these kid moods, having fun together, yada yada, but you don't know what it looks like down the road,
Mhm.
and yet you want to date. It's like, no. And this is why a lot of fathers be telling their daughters no, even though they be telling their sons go right ahead. But that's a little bit, and I will definitely sit here and say that's in a sense of a double entendre or a double-edged sword, because in that same notion, you have to understand that's another woman out there, and if your son's dating another black woman, you got to make sure that that boy is able to truly lock it down versus having fun with that woman and fucking ruining the community again. And so,
Mhm.
people just tend to dilute themselves, because you're also diluting your own community, because you're allowing your son to be like, oh yeah, yeah, you got that. It's like
Right.
you a fool, because now you let the community get down because you allow your son to have fun. So it's like
Right.
pick and choose. You got
Mhm.
so
Very valid points. I'm going to bring up my Lotus extraordinaire, my moderator extraordinaire.
Good afternoon. Good
My Lotus.
afternoon,
yeah, what's going on, Lois?
Big Sis Foxy. Good afternoon, Brother Wally.
What's going on?
You got some music in the background, Lotus? Turn
Yeah,
it
you
down.
hear the, oh, let me see. Where's my remote? Okay, let me put it on mute right quick while I find the remote.
It's got Animal Crossings in the background.
Okay, can you still hear it? I had jazz on. I'm in the living room with the kids.
Ooh, jazz. No, you're good.
Okay. I was
So,
in and out the conversation, but as far as arranged marriage can work. If you think about it, there are arranged marriages going on now, and people might not look at it like that, but spiritual wise, everyone is chosen a partner or a mate by the Most High God of who they are supposed to be with, just like Adam and Eve. We also have free will to make the decision of whether or not we want to be with these partners that are destined or arranged before we even get here. Arranged marriages could also work, in my opinion, when you're coming from the same religious or spiritual background. You're going to kind of have not all of the same core values, but some of the same core values. So you're going to be able to relate to one another. And also you'll be able to be more patient and grow and understand, because most arranged marriages, they grow up together, they're groomed to be together, just like Foxy said, from the time that they are a child. Now, not all arranged marriages work because there are going to be some arranged marriages where the two parties are not going to mesh, no matter who they are. So I can see it both ways.
Mm. I ain't not for that.
But as far as the passport, brothers, I say that I could see it in a both positive and the negative side of it. I could see the positive side of it as in where looking at it from a male standpoint, some of the things that males are looking for, they're not going to be able to find it in, I hate to say it like that, but the younger generation, because we're not being brought up like we were brought up. Um, Children are raising children. So our grandparents and the elders in our family are younger than what they were when we were younger. So they're being given different values. So of course, just like Wally said, a lot of women don't go with the core values. Cooking, making sure the house is clean, wanting to be a stay-home mother, wanting to be a housewife. A lot of women now want to be in the career field. They don't want to actually necessarily stay home and be a mother, a full-time mother. And then there's times where they actually can't. They have to play that role of that father and that mother. But in other cultures, females are groomed from the time that they are born to do these things. So I could see why guys go to other countries to find mates.
That's valid.
But my thing is, and this is my thing because I can't say this for all men. But my thing is, this is my thing, right? I can agree with all of that, but at the same notion is like, okay, if we're at a time right now where the wealth needs, especially for a household, needs two people. I don't have. Then my thing is right now, are you doing enough to where you're providing for two people? Like especially the amounts of two people is like a lot of guys aren't doing that right now.
Right.
I
And
can
so
agree with that. And that's part of the problem because that's what we're doing. We're not slowing down and trying to initiate learning and putting
right,
in the work. We're focusing on those outside forces like the dollar, the wealth, which is about to go down. There's never going to be enough. While you're
right,
out here chasing the dollar, trying to be happy because of a material reason, you're not paying attention to the things that need to be worked on in relationships.
right. I
So
mean,
that's where the void is at.
yeah. I mean, but that's the problem. That's a lot of the issues right there. I think I
Yep.
don't think so because when men, I know like when they use this talking point of they don't care about their degrees or their career, whatever, whatnot. I think the only reason why they sit there and say that is because it's not because that they don't care, like because no one's not gonna date no woman that's a stripper or whatnot, right? It's the simple fact that when we
Or
talk to
are they?
guys, I'm gonna comment with you. But my thing is, it's not the simple fact of them even wanting to know all that. It's the simple fact of truly trying to get to know who they're dealing with, who they're gonna be trying to align themselves with. Because at the end of the day, they're caring about you, the person, not what you got going on altogether. They're trying to know who you are, and then they're trying to get you to know who they are. So I think that's what just gets mixed up in the within this conversation stuff overall. But I mean, that's how I look at that. But you know, everyone just pick and choose what they
So,
want to do.
and so, Wally, what are the age ranges with these so-called passport? Because I think Israel was trying to say that it's like older men too that are like our age.
It is older men. Yeah, older men.
Is it? Because I'm here, but I'm seeing more. It's younger guys.
I mean, you can see well, my thing is this, right? I don't know too much younger guys. I only know one. I only know one, maybe two younger guys that seem that have left and moved around to do certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, most of the guys that I've seen, they're literally older. They're neither 30 and plus, those type of guys. So that's as much as I see.
So they can really do that because.
Well, yeah, like I said, as far as when we talked about earlier, those that having success, they're morely the guys that are a little bit more, able to be more settled within themselves to, actually move like that.
Look who's in the building. Red Illusion. He says people who come from without are more grateful, more willing, and compromise and cooperate, etc. Anybody want to chime in on that?
It's pretty much straightforward.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And for me, I take it anywhere that could be, because you could have be less fortunate here in the States just as well as you could be somewhere over in another country overseas. So that type of behavior, it's still going to carry you. Like if you don't have, you didn't grow up that silver spoon kind of thing in your mouth, you still will carry yourself with some type of humility, and I feel like somebody out in Thailand would do the same thing if they didn't have, they weren't the fortunate. So that's almost like a commonality.
Yeah, they appreciate more.
Mm-hmm.
You appreciate things together more.
Mm-hmm. But with this, and again, the person that I got, reading her, I guess it was a vlog or something like that, levelman.com by Ivy Locke. She's saying that she's getting feedback from the men saying that Black women are angry. This is what she's hearing from the passport bros, money hungry, oversexed. Okay. Violent, unfit, unattractive, masculine, obese members of the passports are portraying to still have nothing to do with the decision being making grown men. Yeah, so that's just a few of the things that a passport bro brought to her attention. The oversex thing, I'm just like, what?
Where did they get this information? Who are these guys that she?
Yeah, I have no idea who she spoke to. She spoke to a young man. I think he's 23 years old.
Had to be.
Okay, well, because that makes sense. Because definitely around them chicks, them 86 definitely out there.
No, that's not. That's another person. She didn't give us an age. She didn't say his name. She didn't say anything. But this is with her consensus, I guess, getting some word around the street. But I'm like, wow, really? So obese, money hungry, violent, unfit, unattractive, masculine. Wow. Okay.
It sounds like projective energy to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, okay, so let me give you all the rhyme and the reason as to validating now why I will go to Thailand and pick up a little.
But it sounds to me, that where she got the information from, she got it from biased individuals who have unhealed things that they need to be working on.
Right.
And that's why they're having that problem. Because we draw to us what we are.
Right.
And that's what they taught us in physics and science. That's what they teach us in school. So we're only going by what y'all taught us.
and then it's a preference, so if you go to a school that's predominantly white and you're the anomaly in the class, you're gonna have either boys picking on you or the girls wanting to like touch you, or because you're the anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, if you're predominantly, and then you see a white girl or an Asian girl coming into school, she's the anomaly. So it's let's see what this is about. And that mindset carries on as they get older.
Yes, unresolved issues.
It's the she's exotic. I want to tap that. It's and I think it's always just on face value first. I don't think has to do with anything about I want to be over there and looking for love. I think it's always first is lust. I don't think it has with
A
anything.
submission.
Let me talk to these Thailand, these Filipina girls, and just get to know them. I really want to get to know them. No, I think it's you want to really get to know them, in between the sheets first, and then you will, work your way up. That's just me as a girl looking on the outside. Brother Maybach's in the building. Wally, did you want something? You had something to say?
No.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, it's pretty much boring.
Okay.
What's going on, Maybach?
What's
Mercury
going on,
retrograde.
man?
Are you in space right now? Or are you right here with us, Maybach?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
I'm at the hospital, but I sent you the message the information you're looking for, Fox.
Yeah, I thought you were going to talk about it, though. That's why.
Y'all heard me?
Yeah, we hear you.
I'm out. You know what I mean? I
We
forgot I
send
had
you and your family love, light, and healing, and we send you our love and our support through everything that you may be going through right now or not going through, and we love you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Thank God. I'm not going through nothing. It was just my annually checkup. That we all supposed to be making sure everything is functioning the way they should be. We don't have no new things popping up out of anywhere. You know what I mean? So they had to do labs and all this other stuff. I totally forgot. But when I seen y'all live, I was like, yo, I gotta at least tap in. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I asked you to get the demographics. I saw your text message.
No, I sent it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay. Just to let you know that my notifications are off. So any. All right. Okay, 2 of them. So I sent it to you. I think it was like 20 was the recent study done on the nationalities.
Okay, but I wanted you to get it so you can read it to
Y'all
us.
hear me? Y'all hear me, right?
Yeah, but you got a delay. You probably
there's a delay.
Yeah, because it's freezing. I'm looking at the StreamYard. I keep seeing Fox. Yeah. Oh.
You might. I don't know if he wants to get out.
Yeah,
jump back in.
There is. That's what I'm saying. Like where I'm at, I'm actually in their bathroom. I didn't want to be all in the hallways. You know what I mean? With all the ruckus and noise. Yeah. I'm gonna try, but I'm not gonna be able to read it though. I don't have.
That's fine.
I'm not at home. I don't know if you heard that. I'm not at home.
Okay. Yeah. So that's fine.
Yeah. I was saying that I'm at the doctor's.
I did some statistics.
Thank God everything is good. I'm just doing it. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay, Maybach,
My
you're killing us
apologies.
with the alienation stuff. So do you want to jump down and come back up later? Okay, so Red Illusion says going to Africa this year for a month. Very good. It's not expensive. And learn the language and everything. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's not expensive to travel. This is what I'm getting. It's because Red Illusion says he's going to Africa for a month, so he's gonna be a passport bro. He's gonna be doing the damn thing. But it isn't expensive, but I was just trying to get a consensus of, what is the big deal? And apparently it's not that big of a deal because it's really not like a high percentage of men doing this. But I did get some statistics. I had wanted Maybach to. He sent me statistics in regards to the different ethnicities, and I wanted him to go into that with me, but he's in space right now. So I talked about that a little while ago. I'm not going to go back into that. But overall, the so-called black and white wealth gap is still marginally disproportionate in the United States. And while they have inheritances and they have wealth that sets their kids up, the black families, it's not that they're not doing it, but these families are working a lot harder because, as I just said, the wealth gap is larger, and it almost might be by design.
Yeah, because they weren't educated in it. Yeah,
Talk
that's
about
another
it.
part. Yeah, that's another part. They're not educated in that stuff. My thing is, like you just said, they're working harder, but they're not working smarter either. That's the problem. You're not working smarter. You do not know all the vehicles to make you, grandiose better. I mean, mostly because right now, right? I read an article not like a couple of weeks ago. The credit, you know how major credit cards bills are out here. it's skyrocketing. So and I guarantee you that's gonna be from a majority of probably us and maybe some others. But right now, like understanding how to use a credit card or understanding how to even know about life insurance. Like a lot of people don't really know about life insurance. People think it's just for your death and after part. No, it's for your here and now. But so there's a lot of things that people don't really know or really understand of these financial vehicles and tools for us to even really be able to get financial wealth. You know what was so interesting? I remember I keep watching this video, right? They said, what would be, how they would stop the black killings out here if a lot of black people got life insurance, especially the right ones? I was like, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because you know why? Because that's a lot of money the banks will have to give up, or a lot of insurance companies will have to give up. A lot of black people start dying left and right, and like all this money got to go somewhere. Like, oh yeah, nah, we gotta slow this shit down.
Right.
So yeah, it's just yeah.
Red Illusion, silly. He says, I met a dude with a credit card score of 17 the other day. Man couldn't even borrow a library book. Sheesh.
Oh, okay, that's weird. Can't borrow a library book.
That's how broke he was.
Sad.
So, yeah, we're not being taught this as other family members or other ethnicities. They're teaching their families or they're, and again, it's systematically in some ways. But that wasn't always the case. There were family members that, were sharecroppers, that they had their own land and things like that. Like this whole passport bros thing is very trivial compared to the real going on of, wealth, of finances, of of
Yes.
traveling. What's that?
I said, yeah, and getting back to those foundational values, that's what we need to be focusing on. Teaching
Right.
our children, the generation that's growing up now, giving them those values, showing them that these images that we see on TV and that we see on social media, that is not real life. That is not our expectations. That is not real life expectations. That's made
Right.
up so that you will feel that you never have enough because you're never where those people are that you see on social media. So you always think that you're not good enough
Mm-hmm.
unless you look like them, unless you act like them, unless you have the material things that they have.
Sure.
Yeah,
Now, Wally, do
that's
you
sad.
feel like social media plays a part in why some people want to go and look for something outside of themselves?
I mean, not just social media, even people themselves. Like just the fact that like if I were to sit here and say, like, for instance, on a perfect example, there may be a kid with J's on and he's laughing at you because you got Adidas. It's like, okay, and
Mm.
because you got the hottest J's, you stay fresh, you got all the hottest clothes, and it's like that's and it irks at people. It may irk at people. Some people may not just be unbothered by it, but for some people, they're so irked about it because like they can't have what they have, and they're at the same age range. But the thing is like at the same notion, they stay here though. You're getting J's, but look where you live. You live in the same freaking area that I do. So what makes you better?
Right.
Like literally, like the fact that you're able to come here and start on me because you got J's, but we live in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what you're telling me is you can't. Because it's funny, right? Most people can never punch up; they can always keep punching down.
Mm.
And it's funny how weak people can punch down, but they can never punch up because by the time they punch up, they know their place.
Mm.
So it's like that's all that is. But I think that's the problem there too. Most people are not strong enough to recognize that, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
so they eventually waver and be like everybody else because they don't
Right.
want to be looking like
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
They're
That is
not
so
comfortable with
true.
themselves. So yeah. So social media, even people within their circle, within their grouping of school and everything else, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
plays a part. It really does.
It does.
Red says, when you remove culture, God, family, all you have left is money. If you even have that. Because some people, all it is culture,
Well,
God,
yeah.
and family. And so money, that's what they're looking for. And this is why some people flex, just like how Willie said, oh, you got J's, the other one doesn't, he's wearing Adidas. So money is what makes certain things corruptible, or the person behind it, that it all entwines into one. But if you don't have that, um, and I think it's a flex thing to it. Hold on. Let me get my because why I brought this topic up today was because on a IG that I was on, and um, the guy was making it seem like that's a come up, that he was like, oh, she can cook, and look at her, like he's showing a picture of her and just trying to like stunt her like a pair of Jordans. And we're just like, okay, well, if this is just about finding love or just trying to find somebody, why do you have to flex and do all that on social media? This is what makes people then like, well, what's the big deal? Then they got a question. Well, am I not good enough? You're like, listen, they all do that for shits and giggles. It's not real. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. Um, Zero social media presence and a mastered hobby is a flex. Meanwhile, Tupac special comes on tonight. I get to see my husband. All right, let's find Brother Truth. And let me see his post here. I hope he didn't take it down. Nope. Okay. So this was a post that inspired me to come on today by Brother Kalani Truth. And, I've spoken about him on my platform numerous times in regards to changing from being the citizen, going into sovereignty. And this person says he's a passport bro. Like, look at him, look at her. All right. He says, "What's up, fellas? Got my queen from the Philippines. She cooks, cleans, bakes, 10 years younger, no kids, and the sweetest woman I ever met. Took me renewing my passport in less than a month." Just why? Why? So this guy got a lot of feedback because this is not a normal page, a post that he would put up. So I was like, why you got that? But it needs to be had because he's hearing about it and he's like, well, what's going on? Like, he travels, he goes state to state. But he's, on some, not a Dr. Umar, but he's definitely like, it's my melanated queen type thing. Like, he's not going outside the box. But that's what made me, get this live up today. Because I was like, well, why would this person see? And they always got to throw in the cook. See, Wally, and that's why I was having an issue. Like, why is this is everyone saying this? All these men keep saying the cook. Well, y'all don't cook?
Because a lot of women don't cook. We have to be honest about the situation. A lot of women don't cook.
I mean,
because it's easier. It's so many fast food restaurants, and as a working mother,
and I'll say this.
Go ahead.
Here's a big one, right? Think of it like this: we have Uber Eats, we have DoorDash, we have all these other, side gigs where people can deliver food to them and, eliminate the work. My thing is, in a lot of senses, think about it. When in the pandemic, most people were neither ordering that or neither one or the other. So, there's a lot of that going on. And most people will tell you, for those that are door dashers and everything else, there was big money during the pandemic to really get food because a lot of the shops were closed and no one can go in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey.
So one woman commented, she said, it's actually sad that they would rather provide for a woman that doesn't even like them and only wants him for what he provides, while judging women in America who look like his mother, melanated, but judging her because she has been forced to be her own provider. Not to mention they're only choosing this route because it requires less effort. So those men rather take the route of being used by an outsider than to be with the woman who makes him elevate.
So they're saying that
I can see that too. Partly.
Well, I have no problem with that as a woman being an elevator, because even Kevin Samuels speak about a woman being an elevator. But my thing is, see, I find that to be a little bit how that went down, because if you're an elevator, then you're a natural elevator. So are you elevating with peace, or are you elevating like you got to get it up there? Because my thing is just talking about, oh yeah, you got to go get the bag and all this and everything else. That's not being an elevator. That's just telling someone what to do. So I mean, pick and choose how that. I mean, so the way that came out, you got to get me the viewpoint of that, because. I mean, but like I said, here and there.
That was one. Let's see. Now there's some women in this comment that was definitely rooting for the guy. Like, it wasn't all just bashing. Like, they're like, if that's what he wants and that's what he's choosing to do, go for it. Let's see. Someone says here, as I get older, I realize that us women are actually the problem. A lot of the time, the main sentiment with men dating outside their culture seems to be value oriented. They are seeking women who have been raised as slash mothers, others other than raised as individuals who don't need or want a man, and who would rather prioritize career over family, which is a Western world modern woman mindset. I think the issue is in the US will be bigger than over here in the UK, as most of us over here are second and third generation Africans, Caribbeans, whose cultures have the same sentiment, raised with family as priority. However, we are still heavily influenced by Western modern culture. The culture, the future is family, not female. So she has I liked what she said. There was somebody that I'm trying to look to get to their post. I think maybe this is it. I don't know. Okay. Men get hyped about foreign women, but if men in their own country didn't marry them, then she says, never mind. A lot of foreign women be playing US men because it's too easy. Women in the US have issues as women do globally. You're swapping one issue for another, but love with good intent knows no geographic boundary.
So I was gonna say, excuse me, but why, when like these bitter comments, what gets me is, why do you want someone that does not want you? If you think that they don't like African American men, then you broaden your horizon. That's your solution. You broaden your horizon and you meet males. We have a problem, and this is just my opinion. We limit ourselves. We only set our eyes on one specific thing because that's what we brought up. We're brought up, okay, we only, and not everybody's, this is just an example, to only date black men if you're black. But if you're black and black men aren't treating you good as an individual, then you go branch out and you find somebody who do. And if you still can't, then you go branch and you date someone out your race. But we limit ourselves and then we complain about those limitations when we can easily fix it.
Honestly, I don't even believe it's the limitations that's the issue. But nonetheless, I leave it there.
Well, what do you think it is?
Honestly, it's just, you know what? Honestly, I think it's because we have to understand that we have those that have grown up well in some senses, and then we have those that have grown up unwell. And a lot of us, we're mixing the well and unwell with each other. And that's what's creating all this huckus and buckets. Because it's like, well, here's the person that's been well all their lives and, you know, never been really having issues or all this other thing. They got great parents and all this, but they deal with an unwell person with unwell circumstances, and then it's like, oh, then this person jacked up this person. Now it's like, oh, now this person becomes tainted, and again and again and again, and it becomes that cycle. We need to separate that and stop dealing with the unwell people. That's my point.
Gotcha. Now we got Brother May back again.
I'm gonna try again. Grand afternoon.
Grand afternoon.
Melanated folks, what's up, Wally?
Good dude, Maybach.
Yeah, Wally's shining right now, man. He's cooking, he's grilling, he's chefing. I like what he's saying. You too, Lotus, but it's just Lotus be like, yeah, hi y'all. You know what I'm saying? I feel
Lotus
everything.
is cooking right now.
Lotus is like,
no, but Lotus
I'm
be
trying to say
dragging.
my
Lotus, if you didn't read the chat, yeah, exactly. She be bringing me down, man. It's like elevator music.
It's because Lotus is schooling. She is chilling.
Yeah,
I'm messing with you, Lotus. I'm just taking shots at Lotus today. It's Friday.
It's cool.
Why not?
It's cool. You know, I don't mind. I know it's all love.
Nah, but just to chime in, I agree with all of y'all. I think like Lotus said earlier too, because I actually know two people that were what how you say it again? That were raised to be with each other, or it was everything was planned. Yeah, because both families is the money goes long. Let's just put it like that. You understand what I'm saying? So
It does with dowries and offerings.
Say that again.
It does with dowries and offerings. That's why I say it works.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, because they know those values. They build generational wealth and
Correct.
health and wellness together.
But I'll say this.
And they're on the same page.
I was about to say that. Go ahead, Wally.
Yeah, no, because I want to tag into that. And this is the one thing, right? Why do you think that's the case? Because it's the parents that are involved. A lot of parents, they're not involved in your kids' relationships at all.
Facts.
I mean, let's be honest. When is the last time you ever heard these teens out here, they got their girl, all this other that, and then they took them to their parents? We don't hear that no more.
Correct.
Because the parents are making decisions that we can't trust now because these are younger parents.
That's fair. That's also fair. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But
you work with what you know. You use the resources that you have. When we know better, we do better.
See, that's the whole problem.
Facts.
Which way you look around it, it's like it's left and turn around. And then you know what? And this goes back to, I think this is a comment you made, or neither with Foxy made. It's like kids teaching kids in a sense.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So now it's like, what if we don't go to parents? What are we gonna do? We're gonna go to our homeboy. We're gonna ask our homeboy, what you think about my girl?
Mm-hmm.
It's same homegirl.
Misinformation.
Correct.
But it goes at the same trickle down statements and everything else. So it's like
yeah. But basically, everything y'all saying is y'all just echoing. If I was to talk, I'd just be echoing, because a lot of it, like everyone on here touched up, it all starts at home. So if you don't have if you got, like, let's just say you got a young female who's a parent, and she wasn't raised cultural, she definitely is not going to teach her daughter, you know what I mean, or her son to be cultural. So like we said, everything stems from our parents. You know what I'm saying? That's why I feel like, my generation and maybe the generation underneath, meaning like the 30, I'll say no lower than 35, is the last breed that has these type of upbringings. You understand? Like my kids, when I take them out, they know where I sit down, they got to sit next to me. We go to the department store, one's holding my left hand, the other one's, you're not going to run around because or, hey, Foxy said, come over and play with her son. And the minute we enter Foxy's house, they running around. And no, that's not the way I was raised. So that's the same thing that I applied to my child. This, you know what I mean? But you got like grandparents is now telling you to be lenient on your child. And it's just like, you're looking at your mom's like, what? You're telling me to be lenient on your grandson? Where was the lenient when I was growing up? You know what I'm saying? So
it's the whole swap.
Exactly. Now, I guess, I don't know if it's because my mom's is like, they say when you get elderly, you're kind of going back to like the infant stage again. But when I'm disciplining the kids, she's like, I'm too hard. And I'm like, well, I get it from you. So what do you mean I'm too hard? Me and my 4 siblings came out fine. So why can't I apply the same? But she be trying to tell me like, oh, nowadays it's totally different. And I'm like, yeah.
See, and that's the thing. They're conditioned for the nowadays. They're taking the nowadays into their heads versus what they gave y'all.
Correct.
And it's like now they want to, desensitize a lot of these things. But it's
Correct.
like even then, that only makes it slightly worse.
Facts.
And so.
You also understand that those parents may not have had, just like those taught and what they were seeing in their environment, and that's how they raised you.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, I say it like this, right?
You have children; they see the error of their ways sometimes and want to change it and make amends.
Yeah, that's a fair point because he's like breaking the chain of it all, and I get
Correct.
that, right?
Correct.
I just take it as everyone just got to be very mindful of it all, and see how it works. But
Correct. Correct. Or what works for you? Because I know this though, right? When y'all said, I think it was Wally that just said like breaking the chain. Number one thing, I'll give a quick example. Like I knew my parents loved me. Being Caribbean parents, they raised tough. Really, parent, Caribbean people don't really show that much emotion. I'm not saying all don't, but majority the old school, like my mom's is like 82 years old, 83. So that generation is what I'm talking about. So the cycle that I broke is telling my kids every single day, I love them. I love them. I didn't grow up that way. I knew my parents loved me, but they never was saying it to me and my siblings. You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
So that's
right.
one thing. That's one thing before my father passed away. May he rest in peace. That I had a conversation with. I was like, Dad, I love the way you raised us, but it was certain things that I wish you did with, me and bro. You know what I'm saying? And that I had to learn outside. And my father looked at me and he's like, well, my daddy didn't do it with me. And I'm like, well, Dad, there's a thing in America called breaking the cycle. Just because your father wasn't, showed you emotion and he didn't hug you all the time doesn't mean you couldn't have did it with me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm like, touch up real quick. Like I'm my father's only son. Yeah, I got a brother, but you know what I mean? So it's just, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, sorry, man. But look, this is the one thing we have to really understand, and I think this is why a lot of us tend to, when we say we leave the nest, we try to leave completely because it's like we're not getting that love home. So it's like, why even go to a place that we're not even appreciated or even cared for? It's
Right.
like now it's like we want to detach ourselves completely from that. It's like I'm gonna leave it right here. It's time for me to go find myself to go find a place where I'm actually appreciated or even cared for in a sense.
Correct.
So it breeds that
That's
separation.
correct. I was
Okay, so I'm going to interject really
that
quickly
too. That
because I have about
where
two more minutes, Lotus. I got about 2 more minutes and then I have to end this live. So I'm going to have us do a roundtable send
that's
off.
cool.
What's the closing in this conversation. Also, Resolution wrote, what if the solution is dating, but eliminates your race in 4 generations? Good question. Then he also says, but then young girls are forced to marry guys that have never met. We were talking. This is in regards to talking about arranged marriages, which because like that's what I was saying earlier. Red Illusion is that if you do arranged marriages, that means that she's going to be like she's going to be 12, 13 years old before she can be tampered with any other outside, and hold off until she's about 16, and then they're going to marry her off. That's the only way I think that type of thing can happen here in the States. So I'm going to leave off with Lotus. What are your last words to end out this conversation? Lotus.
She might be caught in the matrix.
Yeah, another one in the matrix. Okay. Maybach.
Say that one more time. How you want me to end it again?
Just end out with your thoughts.
Oh no, I mean I caught the tail end of it. You know what I mean?
But you were listening.
Yeah. I'm gonna definitely catch the replay. But this goes to another topic, anyways. So I think this could segue into another topic because while he was talking about some stuff, I kind of got off of it, but it all intertwines with each other. Everything starts at home. So basically, that's all I want to say. You know what I mean? And he said something that is true. If I've suffered a lot of trauma and never got rid of the trauma, you understand what I'm saying? How can I love somebody else? It's just like somebody that don't love themselves telling you that they love you. It can't happen. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I'm saying is a lot of us deal with trauma and we don't clear that up, and then we bring that into someone else's life, and that person might have suffered the trauma. So it's like trauma on top of trauma. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't loved right properly when I was coming up. So how can I love a woman? Even though I might be a man, But it doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? As a man, I'm supposed to know if I wasn't taught that at very young age. So how can I love her? So this comment, like I said, this conversation is going to segue into something else, but I'm going to just end it like that.
Okay.
But I appreciate you for having me on here.
You're very welcome. And Wally, thank you for guest appearance and rolling with me. What are your last final words to all this?
My last final words to this is I think the biggest thing a lot of people need to realize who you got in your back corner. Who do you have in your back corner that you can trust to help assist, visually understand who you're dealing with? Because I think that's another thing we have to really get back in our corner. Because back then we always knew when eventually we had these relationships, we end up meeting each other's families. And if we don't got that understanding across the board, then you need some partners. Cause I always sit here and say this: for a guy across the board, if you do not have your bishops, your rooks, your knights, you really don't got nothing to really work from. Because you gotta have people that you gotta have people that are with you that can help you out along the way in life. So, and so I treat this life like chess. If you don't got those guys around you, you ain't gonna go far. You ain't going far. So,
that was deep.
Thank you. Now, Lotus, I don't know. She said her computer was lagging. Are you back, Lotus?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Is it better?
Better.
Okay.
So in a few seconds,
energy.
Yeah, in a few seconds, more or less, give us your final thoughts and words to this section.
My final thoughts are to heal, talk to these elders, talk to these children, communicate. Don't be afraid to tell them the mistakes you made and how to make those mistakes better, so that they will know that you are and they are human, and we are free to make those mistakes and learn those lessons so that we can healing while they are children, instead of waiting until we're adults and heal. And then the adult stuff is also what we have to heal, as well as the stuff that we need to heal from our childhood.
Ashe. Thank you, my Lotus.
Okay,
so my panel, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all of you for giving me your feedback, and it was respectful, and I appreciate that, because by no means do I want to ostracize anybody that's doing this thing called Passport Bros. It is what it is, whatever's floating your boat. If this is what's making you quote unquote happy, then but be cautious, be wary. Also know that it's a money game, like Wally just mentioned. This is a game of life, chess, not checkers. And so you need to have your affairs in order before you just jump out and, want to floss and make yourself look good for the gram, for social media. Meanwhile, you're still living in your mom's basement. Oh, and fellas, learn how to cook too, because we're relying on a woman that don't cook, and she can't cook. What are you going to eat? So you need to go look for another woman. No, we got to take care of ourselves as well. It does start at home. We cannot always just rely on other people. If you can't sit with yourself, then what do you bring into the table? All right. So with that all being said, I thank you all, everybody who came through on the chat, who's going to be coming through on the replay. I give you thanks, honor, and praise you guys. We'll try to do maybe do a part 2 to this, but definitely I'll keep you posted. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check in my community section for messages, or my other channel. Check the community section there, and I'll let you know when I'll come back on Inside Foxy's Mind. So with that all being said, peace.
Peace out, y'all. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.
Have a blessed day.
If she can't fly,